Tableau Newbie user group. Thank you for starting the recording, Viraj. But this is the August meeting of the user group, and we've got some ground rules and some things that you have to understand about how we do run the meeting and how we get started here. First of all, the meeting is going to be recorded. It's actually recording right now, and it will be available on the Newbie group Bevy site probably late this week, but certainly by next week it'll be out there. So you don't have to ask the question, every 2 minutes, is the meeting going to be recorded? It is recorded. You will notice that your audio and video have been turned off. That's because there's going to be a few hundred of you out there today. There's going to be a lot of people, and it's just too much bandwidth, or not enough bandwidth if everybody's trying to broadcast at the same time. But we encourage you to talk to one another using the chat. Now, we do have a request. If you have a question for one of the presenters, please put that in the Q&A. It makes it easier for us to find it if it's in the Q&A as opposed to being just in the chat, because the chat fills up rather quickly. Now, people who are just joining now, you may have noticed we've asked people to, when they join, tell us where you're from, and we'd like to know if your kids are in school yet. And if they're not in school, when does school start? We're here at the end of summer. We'd like to know when your kids start school. Klaus,
that would be great. That would be great data to create a map, wouldn't it?
It would be great. If maybe somebody could do that on the fly. Who's our presenter today on maps? Oh, that would be Tori. I don't know if you can do that on the fly or not. But don't feel any pressure there, Tori. Just a little bit about the group. We know that a lot of you people are new to the user group. You haven't been with us before. This is our third year. We've gone through right at the end of the third year. We started in January 2 years ago. We meet every 6 to 8 weeks, and we have two parts to each meeting. The first part is how does that work? And Klaus and I, it's the Klaus and Jim show. And wait a minute. Today we don't have the Klaus and Jim show. Today we have the Reyes and Maddie show. And Reyes and Maddie are two of the co-leaders, and they're doing the part that Klaus and I usually do. And it's how does that work? We take a deep dive into one of the functions in Tableau. And then we have a guest speaker from the community. And you, our members, decide what the topic's going to be for the guest speaker. If you have a topic and something you'd like to learn more about, put it in the chat so that we can take a look at it, and then we can find somebody who's available to speak on that topic. You want to go to the next slide there, Klaus? Now, this is the team. This is the team that formed the Newbie group, and we're gonna spend a moment just to introduce ourselves. First of all, my name is Jim Daner. I am a Tableau visionary. I'm also one of the ambassadors, and as I mentioned before, I live in Nashville, Tennessee. Klaus, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Klaus. I've been using Tableau since 2017. I'm one of the Tableau visionaries. I'm from Münster, Germany. And happy to be part of this group.
Okay, Viraj?
Hey, hi everyone. This is Viraj. I'm from Mumbai, India, and I'm also a Tableau ambassador. That's my first year, and happy to be part of this group. And I've been a Tableau user for like 3-4 years on and off, but then I've been a big fan of this application. So welcome aboard.
Okay, and Laura?
I was muted. Hi, I'm Laura. I work at a law firm in Chicago as a data analyst. I've been using Tableau mostly for work since 2021. I was introduced to Tableau way before that, but I never got a chance to use it during that time period. But I would say I'm pretty good at Tableau prep, if you have not heard about it. But I've recently realized I'm quite good at that now. We have our firm has a lot of information and things flowing through Tableau prep. So if you use it, that's a wonderful tool. And it's been wonderful being part of this team, working with everybody. So
okay, Laura. Laura's a self-described newbie, but she's much more than a newbie. She's got much more skills than she gives herself credit for. And we're gonna talk to Reyes and Maddie later. So let's just go on to the next slide. And we'll get going. Well, today's agenda, we're going to spend just a couple more minutes here, just getting to know everybody, and then we're going to go into that "How does that work?" segment, and that's what Reyes and Maddie are going to do. And it's going to be a session on maps. The whole session today, the whole meeting today, is on maps, and they're going to talk about maps, and from their perspective as a relatively new user. And then we've got this this guy in Norway. And Tori, you want to wave to everybody? There you go.
Hello.
Hello, Tori. How long you been using Tableau?
Since version 7, so 2012.
Since version 7. That's in the Wayback Machine.
Yes.
That's definitely in the Wayback Machine. And Tori's also a Tableau ambassador, and he's going to take us through mapping. And you can see what his topic is, that navigating through without maps. That's Norway to live. Okay, and then we're going to have a Kahoot quiz, and Laura does a Kahoot quiz, so we're really looking forward to that. I'm going to warn you right up front. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's no cash, no prizes, no swag, none of that stuff, but you get bragging rights for life. Okay, let's go on to the next slide. You want to start planning and take a look at your calendar. Our next meeting is September 25th, at the end of September. And we're going to take a look at top-end calculations. And this is a topic that keeps coming up, like, how do I do top-end calculations? How do I do top-end in a number of different conditions? And actually, we've got a special speaker for that. Viraj is going to do that presentation. And in addition to that, if we go to the next slide, our guest speaker, our special guest speaker for that presentation will be none other than Hall of Fame visionary Steve Wexler. And I might add here that Klaus introduces himself as a visionary. He's a Hall of Fame visionary. Okay, so that's a big deal. Okay, well, Steve is a Hall of Fame visionary also, and he's going to talk to us about
for years already.
Yeah. Steve's been around. Steve's been around for a while, and he's going to talk to us about charts in the movies. And you can sign up for that meeting right now. You can register for the meeting using the code that's on the screen, or the QR code that's on the screen. And we're going to put that up again later so that you have a chance to do that later.
Oh, they have the link in the chat already, so they can use the link as well.
Okay, very good. Let's go to the next one.
Yeah, Jim, when we had that slide before, I can't believe that we already have our 6th meeting this year today. So quite some content that we already talked about. And if you join us regularly, you know that this year we try to put everything into kind of a framework. The framework is transitioning from Excel to Tableau, and we want to introduce the basic concepts, basic topics in these 6 buckets. And today we have maps, which is a visualization technique or a visualization type. So today everything is about maps. If you missed the previous sessions and also the sessions from the last 2 years, we have a growing Newbie Tag YouTube playlist. I'm sure the link is also shared in the chat. So if you look for content specifically designed for newbies, this is the way to go. Yeah, and for today, it's a pleasure to have Maddie and Reyes for the How Does It Work session, giving an introductive session about maps. Maddie has been part of the leadership team of the Newbie Tag since the first year. She lives in Indianapolis and works at Richard M. Fairbanks Foundation, and always describes herself as a newbie, but I think she's way more than a newbie already, and we'll see that today. And we will have Reyes Murrieta. Reyes lives the life that maybe many of us thought to live one day. So he's living on the road and calling in from Yellowstone National Park at the moment, and also a member of the leadership team of the Newbies Tag since the first year. So maps. How does that work? Can you shed some light on this, Andreas?
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Okay.
Okay, I think you see it now.
Yes,
working?
we see. Yes, we see it.
Perfect. We're going to talk about maps. We are kind of your intro into geospatial visualizations, and you use a map to tell you where you're going. So what are we going to talk about today, and what are we going to learn about maps? The first thing is, why would you use a map? And then components of a map in Tableau, how they differ from a normal data set, and also visualization. And then understanding what Tableau has native, and then what you're going to need to DIY yourself if you want to move past that. And then Reyes is going to walk us through the actual tutorial and show us some different map types, specifically symbol maps, area maps, and density maps. So the first thing I want to start with is, why would you need to use a map? We have tons and tons of data sets out there, and very few of them are actually geospatial or maps. But data is moving towards more maps because location is really important, and location is an aspect of data that sometimes we lose. And so it tells us something. It's a trend. We can spot trends in locations that we can't just see if we're just looking at numbers or visualization. Place really matters, and maps are the way that we view place and we see trends rooted in a place. So maps are really important. Maps are cool. I think data is moving that way, which is really exciting. So first, understanding the structure of a map in Tableau is a bit different than your typical data set. We're going to talk about two big buckets of things. Those are the boundaries or the areas, and then the geospatial data points within those boundaries and areas. So there's a little GIF here that shows a lot of things, but one, you're going to see different colored looking blocks, and those are the boundaries and areas. And so you have to define your boundary and area within your data set, and Tableau does some of that natively, and we'll talk about that, or you have to put it in yourself. And then there are all the actual data points that go in, and you'll see they're putting that in right now, the little dots that are everywhere, and those are separate forms of data. Something else to note about maps when you're working in Tableau is you're going to use layers, which is not a typical structure of other visualizations you've done, but you'll notice that when they drop in a second set of data, the actual points, it says add a marks layer. And so you're going to see there are different layers of data stacking on top of each other, which you don't do in Tableau otherwise. So that's going to be really important to remember. Layers are key to maps. Okay, so let's first talk about the boundary or area. We call it the polygon boundary layer. There's many different ways to refer to this. When you are working in Tableau and you are starting to build a map, Tableau is going to default to a state and country background layer, which is really helpful. If you live in the United States, this is our states. It's very familiar to us. But Tableau has some other geospatial data groups built in that it can recognize as long as you assign the data type. So it can recognize countries, and it will do that natively. States and provinces, again, those are going to be the default view when you start building your map. It can also do cities and MSAs, which are metropolitan statistical areas. If you work in Census Bureau data like I do, you'll see that a lot. Counties, zip codes, area codes, airports, congressional districts. These are all data groups that Tableau understands. So if you put a data set in and you label it county, you can assign that data type and it will recognize it, and it will just know where that goes on a map. But you may have other data groups or geographies or areas that you want to define that don't fall in that group. School board groups, city, county council seats. There's a million different things that you may want to define the boundary or the area of. And to do that, you'd have to go a little bit deeper, and we're not going to do this today, but just to put the bug in your ear, what you would need is called a shape file. And those are widely available. If you wanted to find one, you could just type in city, county for Raleigh, North Carolina, shape file, and you'd be able to find that. And it's just a data file like any other. You put it into Tableau, and it will do those boundaries for you. But that's what you should look up if you're interested in that. So once we have our area defined, then we want to put the actual data points in. So we need to have one of two things in our data file if we want to put points on our map. We need to either have a field of the geographic data types that we just talked about, a field of zip codes, of counties, cities, things like that, or a set of coordinates that you turn into a point. And that means you need to have the latitude and longitude of your location. Now, these are not something that we typically gather from people. Most people couldn't tell you the latitude and longitude of their own address. So there are software that will do this for you based off of addresses, things like that. Google Sheets has add-ons, but this is a place where we need to talk to you about public data. So when Reyes and I do our example, we are going to show you a public data set that I pulled from a public website. It's going to be school addresses. This is all public information. You could Google it and find it. It's easy to find. So we're going to show you addresses, and it's definitely okay. You haven't signed a DSA or anything like that, but it's okay for us to share with you. But it's really, really important when you think about geospatial data that addresses are PII, and so you cannot share them with people who maybe have a lower security than you, and you really cannot share them with AI or public tools like Google Sheets. So when I show you this example, it does use Google Sheets, but just be really aware that if you are working in a private data set, example, Laura works in a law office, Laura should not, and Laura would never pull the address data from their database.
I would not.
But yeah, in Google Sheets, that's a huge breach, security breach. So please don't do that, just be aware. You can go deeper also on this one, just like with the last one. There are other spatial functions. We're just going to talk about make point, which is making the actual data points from those lat long coordinates. But you can do tons of things. You can make areas, you can make shapes, you can make lines, and all that's out there, especially on the Tableau forums for you to find and learn. So we want to walk through what building a data set looks like, because it's a little bit different, and just help you understand what you need in your data set to put this together. So I have a data file here. This is, again, the public data file we pulled off of the Indiana Department of Education website. This has the school ID. This has school names. These are all the schools within Indiana, private and public. And it has school address, which is helpful. That's geospatial, but Tableau is not going to recognize that. So then we have some other information here. And then I've highlighted in green 2 fields that Tableau will recognize. So there's zip codes and county names. So if I want to go to map this, and I just put this file in, Tableau would be able to give me locations of these zip codes and these county names, but you'll notice like I've got 3 schools in 1 zip code, I've got 9 schools in Adams County alone. Well, that's not really specific enough for me. So I need to get the actual lat long for all of these school addresses so I can parse them apart. So I use an extension in Google Sheets, which you can see here. I just installed it. There's 2 different ones, but they will geocode your data based on an address field. So I took my address field and it popped out these lat long fields, which is exactly what I need. And so then Reyes is going to take this data set, now that I have latitude and longitude, he's going to turn it into our maps. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so Reyes can pick it up.
All right. Okay, do you guys see my workbook?
Yes, we can. Yep.
Yeah,
Wonderful. Okay, I thought I lost you for a second. So thank you very much, Madeline, for preparing the data set. So when we're creating maps in Tableau, the platform offers a variety of default features that enhance the visualization experience. These features make it really easy to create compelling maps with minimal customization. So one of the first things that Tableau does is it does the automatic geoencoding. So as we look at the data source and we scroll over to the table, and this is the table that Madeline just showed, we'll see the lat longs that she just mentioned, but then you have this little kind of globe symbol here. And one of the things I like to do is just, right click on the globe, double check the geographic roles, and see that it is appropriately characterized. So this is indeed the latitude, so it is as we expect. And for the most part, Tableau does a really great job of doing all of this geo-encoding. You see that for additional points such as zip and country name as well. If for some reason you're putting a data point onto your map and it isn't being pulled up, it probably is because that it isn't identified correctly by the geoencoding. So today I'm going to be showing you how to make 3 different maps. The first is going to be a field map. Tableau works very well in this hierarchical order. So Madeline kind of talked about it. So you kind of have country, state, zip, county, city, etc. And the field map is really great for those higher hierarchical maps. So in this case, we're showing zip or county, but this would work great for state or country. And then we're going to dive into heat or density maps, which is where we're going to zoom in a little bit further into counties and get more pinpoint accuracy. And then we're going to go even deeper and look at symbol maps, which allow us to display points as symbols in a very specific manner to answer very specific questions. So let's go ahead and jump into that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create that filled map. So the other nice thing about the filled maps is that Tableau does a really good job about easily applying color gradings for this. So what we want to do in this case, and it's very simple, is we really just need to take this zip field that's geoencoded and drop it into our workspace. And if we do that, you'll see that we have all of the different zips that are points populated. So this is in essence a map, and that's really all you need to do. That's how simple it is sometimes. But we really want to look at that filled aspect. So to do that, we're going to come up to the Marks tab. We're going to scroll down to Map, and we will select Map. And this will then give us that filled populated space. So this is by zip codes. We see that there's some counties or some zips that aren't populated here. And Maddie, do you want to comment briefly on why we may or may not see certain counties populated in Tableau?
Yeah, great. So this is a zip code right now, but sometimes if Reyes were to just put the counties in, there are lots of counties that have the same name. So I think he's going to do it. And you'll notice when he puts this county data in, we know that there are schools there that aren't being shown because we just saw them on the zip code. But because the counties have the same name, Tableau might be trying to put them in another state. So there is something called a FIPS code, and that is like essentially a zip code for a county, and that gives you very specific, like there's multiple Marion counties across the United States, but there's only one FIPS code for Marion County, Indiana. So if you come across this, there are workarounds. Again, that's like pretty deep, but you can always find a really specific code for those things too to fix it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So in this case, we're going to be using zip. One of the next things that we would want to do here is really look at total enrollment, because we do have this school data. The way I tend to look at this problem, because I've never really worked with maps, I picture this as, hey, maybe I'm moving to Indiana and I'm looking for locations to move to based on school districts. So one of the things I would want to look at is the total enrollment. So I'll take total enrollment and I'm going to drop this onto the color tab in our Marks page. And we now have the sum of enrollment for each zip code. And as we can see, there's kind of this cluster of increased enrollment right here, which to no surprise, that's actually around Marion County where Indianapolis is. And then we have some other areas down here as well that look to be very populated for school enrollment. Other things that we see is when we drop in the color value associated with this, we do get a legend that pops up. So we can see we're ranging from enrollment of 20, which seems like a very small school area for zip code, up to 12,000. So that's a very nice way to get a high-level overview viewing these maps. So the next map we're going to do is going to be a density map. And density maps are really cool because what Tableau does is they include a density mark type that visually represents the concentration of data points. And this feature really simplifies the creation of heat maps. Another thing it does is it auto scales those intensities of the density maps based on the concentration of data, providing an intuitive visualization without needing manual adjustments. So to prepare this map, we would take our latitude and we're going to simply drag that into rows. We're going to take our longitude, drag that into columns. And then again, as we see all the individual points based on those school-based lat and longs that Madeline came up with us, we can then come over to Marks and click on density. And this is going to create our density or heat map for us. One of the nice things about this is you could adjust the density here. And to do that, you would simply click on the color tab, you would increase your intensity, and that's going to do a live update of your intensity on the density plot. So this is kind of a lot of mush. It's kind of hard to see what we're looking at. So I want to zoom in. So again, getting back to that original question, perhaps I'm interested in moving in that to the area where there's the highest density of schools and education and enrollment. Well, it looks like it's about right here, which indeed that is Marion County. So what we're going to do is we're going to set a filter, and we're going to take county name, and we're going to drop it into filters, and then we're going to search for Marion. And we're going ahead and apply. And OK. So this is now Marion County, and this is the density plot. So this is kind of hard to see and hard to make out. Because we're familiar already with the zip codes from the previous chart, one of the nice things you could do with the maps is you could actually add additional background layers. So if we come up to map up top, we click on background layers, and you'll get this list of background map layers that you could have. So one of the things that I want to look at is the zip code boundaries, which is what we just previously looked at. And then I also want to look at the county borders, so we know where Marion County is ending. So we're going to go ahead and select both of those. So now we see, okay, this is Marion County. We have within Marion County multiple zip codes that are present, and we see the density of abundance spread out as we go from here. So this is a really interesting way to look dynamically at where is that school population based on zip code and county in the filter. And then additionally, we could do other filters to select on school type. So one of the things we might want to look at in this particular case would be school level. So from the data, if you remember what Madison showed us, is that we had all grades, primary and secondary. For now, we're going to select all. We're going to apply this filter to this map. And then I like to show these filters so that we could make this interactive, editable. So I'll click Show Filter. And then we now have the filter option available to us. I like to do one more step to my filters. So I'm going to click this drop down. We're going to go to Customize. And then I like to do the Show Apply button option, because when I'm selecting or deselecting these filters, I don't like the map to update on me on the fly. I want it to update once I'm done making my selections, when I have multi-selection options like this. So for example, if I want to look only at primary school levels, we could hit Apply on this filter, and it will now give us an update and show us what regions of Marion County are going to have increased density for primary school level. If we want to look specifically for all grades, we would do the same thing, and that's what we're left with. So to dive even deeper, and again, we're kind of getting this pool and cohort, the next thing I want to do is I really want to go into a symbol map. So to do a symbol map, there's a few things that Tableau does to make this really easy for us. One, it automatically places symbols for us, which you've already seen when I place the lat longitude. We can very easily do a size and color encoding to represent different aspects of our search. And then again, we have the legends and tooltips available to us. So just like in the last slide, we're going to take latitude, drop it in rows. We're going to take that longitude, drop it in the column. And this is going to place symbols at all of our geographic points. And if you want to change those symbols, you can come into marks, you can make it squares, you can make it circles, you can do other shapes as well. I personally prefer circles. It makes it really easy when there's a lot of overlap. Again, because we're only interested in Marion County, I'm going to throw a really quick filter in here as well. So county name, let's just put Marion County back in. That way we're not looking at this big jumble of locations. And then what I want to see is the total enrollment based on the size of these symbols. So I'm going to go ahead and take the total enrollment. I'm going to right-click total enrollment, and I'm going to drop that on size. And I want this to be total enrollment attribute. So I'm going to click on that. And that's going to now change the size of our symbols. So the larger the size, the higher the enrollment. We see the legend on the right. And then the other thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and add that school level like we just showed in the previous map. And we're going to add that to color. So we're going to take school level, we're going to drop it on color. And again, it's showing us this legend. So now we see the size of enrollment as well as the school levels that are here. And these are all interactive as well. So if we want to look again at primary, we can now click on primary and we're only shown those primary schools. Same with secondary and all grades. So this is just a really nice way to visualize that. If we want to take this one step further and bring back what we originally showed you with the zip codes and the density of abundance via zip code, we can use what Maddie talked about in layers. So we're going to come over here and we're going to select zip. and we're going to drag it over to our map, and we're going to see these add a marks layer option, and we're just going to drop this right on top. And we now have these gray zip code locations. We then want to format this appropriately. So we have this marks here. We have latitude. Latitude is what I just showed you. Marks is the new overlay. We're going to come to automatic. We're going to make this a map. We now have our zip codes. We want to now look at the total or the sum of total enrollment based on color. So we're going to drop that on color for marks. And we now have this overlay. So we lost our original points, but they're just hidden behind. So we can come down here to latitude, drag it up above the new zip location. And now we get this beautiful layered map that shows the total abundance based on enrollment, as well as the individual school locations based on abundance, as well as primary school levels. So this would be a great place to start going into formatting. We've seen this many other times in the past. Let's say, for example, we want to see total enrollment or the sum of the total enrollment here, but let's say we also want to see the county name when applicable. We would take county name, we would drop it on the tooltip for the zip map specifically. I like to come into the tooltip option, and I'll go ahead and reset this because sometimes you do get some weird things that happen. Hit OK, and then as we scroll over now, we see that county name is now listed appropriately because all of these are Marion County. So with that, that's where I want to leave this demo off, and I'll hand this back to Maddie.
Yeah, Reyes, will you actually, or not Reyes, I'm sorry, Klaus, will you go back to our whole slides because the last slide is with you, so that way we can do a cleaner transition.
Here we go.
Perfect. Okay, so sorry, someone's echoing, but what we talked about, are we there yet? I hope that you enjoyed this map humor. We prepared our data, so we looked at the fields that Tableau will just recognize automatically. Those are zip codes, states, and others, but then some that we had to do ourselves, which were latitude and longitude, and gave some options for how to build that into your data set if you don't collect it automatically, which you probably don't, and that's normal. And then we looked at symbol maps, area maps, and then density and heat maps. So I hope that is a great demo, and then we can go into something deeper.
Yeah, thank you, Reyes and Maddie. Great presentation. Do we have any immediate questions in the Q&A section?
There was a good question about how many layers can you have, and the answer is Tableau says unlimited, though I will say that at some point probably load time and just general readability of your map is going to start to suffer, but the Tableau answer is unlimited.
I wasn't sure, so I use Tableau a lot, but I never reached that limit, so most likely it is unlimited. So, yeah.
Awesome. We just have a question that just came up. It's asked if there's a way to add jitter to a map for better representation of overlapping data, like number of students and stuff like that.
I'll just jump into that. I think that's a good question. I've never done it on layered maps.
Okay.
I don't know, Tori, are you going to speak on anything that sounds like that? You could just shake your head if not. Okay. I can tell you this, we're trying to move away from jitters. We're trying to move to layers and, to other ways of doing things, but because jittering is really old school. But my advice would be give it a chance, give it a try, see if it works.
Okay. So thanks again, Maddie and Andreas. I think we move on. And it's my pleasure to welcome our guest speaker, Tore Levinsen from Norway. And I have to say, Tore taught me a lot already. He taught me how to pose for a picture in the US. So I think I like this one, Tore. We did that last year at Tableau conference in San Diego. And Tore actually also taught me how to use the slot machines in the casino. He was such a good teacher. So we had a great evening, Tore, you will remember.
Yeah, you won, I lost.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like that actually. Yeah, but most of all, it's great to have you here with us today because you're a true data rock star. You're a 3-time Tableau ambassador, and you're very much into tags. I had the pleasure to join one of the Norway tags, or it was even the Nordic tag. Maybe there are slightly differences. And he's also a brand new co-founder of the Data and Maps tag. So maps seem to be his topic. And I'm really looking forward to your presentation today, Tore. And yeah, take it away.
Thank you. Let me click on some buttons and start share. I also, you can hear me, I guess, and you can see this one. I'm just going to
can hear you well.
the like this. So really quickly, the boring bit, you know, with the slides and everything. I got the great introduction, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. But since
we see the presentation mode, so you might want to flip.
Oh, it's the other way around. I thought I saw the correct one. Perfect. Sorry. Thank you. So now you learn me something as well. So this one is just quickly to show you that, or give you those QR codes as well if you want to connect with me as well, because every Wednesday on X I'm doing tiny Tableau tip, and planning on doing a lot more of those in the future as well. Also start to record these. And as you said, the apps tug, please sign up for that one as well. We have our inaugural, the first ever Data Plus Maps tug coming up on the 28th of August with a great cast as well. This one, everybody loves it, so I'm going to skip that one. These tiny Tableau tips, I'm going to show you some introduction, something to do, some tips and tricks on maps today, since obviously we're talking about maps. And I've been doing this since September 2022, these different tiny tips. So there should be something to as a reminder for something that are brand new for some people. So hopefully you will get something out of these. The next, was it 3.5 hours I have close? So I'm just gonna continue from now. So I've started to, you know, in Tableau you can connect to the Superstore data, but some of the Superstore data that comes with Tableau is a bit boring for us living in Europe, because it's basically US and Canada, maybe something from Europe. So I went and connected the sample EU Superstore. And I'm going to go kind of the introductory, the low level a bit, so that some of the things that were presented earlier in the previous a bit, I'm not going to repeat a lot of this because it's not needed. So you see that I have these country, state, and city, these geographic roles in here. And sometimes even when you connect to data, Tableau doesn't recognize, especially if you have a different data set than English. So if this would have been Norwegian, it wouldn't say country, it would say land. And land would not necessarily be recognized by Tableau. But you see that on the left-hand side over here, we have this nice globe. So Tableau has recognized it and have generated my latitude and longitude down here. Also means that if I open up this sample EU Superstore in any other tool or in Excel or CSV or Notepad, there's no latitude, longitude there because it's just added into Tableau when we change this data roles that we have over here, this geographic roles, in this case, the country region. If I turn this on, say none, you see that country region is just the text. And if I wouldn't have had any other geographic roles, I wouldn't have the latitude, longitude down here. So if I double click on country region, I got the list of the countries and regions that we have in this data set. So let's go back, change the geographic role to country region, and then I can double click and I will see that I have a dot on the map as expected, as you've seen before. And the good thing about this, when we have a hierarchy, when everything is located inside of a hierarchy, I can drill down for country to state to cities like this. which is all fine, but let's go back to country first. I might want to look at the sales. If I put it on size, obviously the size of the circles grow depending on how much sale it is. And apparently in Norway, we don't sell as much as we do in Germany and France. You can always go to size and increase all the circles. It doesn't mean that you have more sales. It just means that the sizes, circles are bigger and it's more easy to spot in the view. This is all fine so far. Something that might be a bit annoying sometimes is that if I, instead of having the sales on size, I move it to color, I get this filled map as well. And as mentioned, I started using Tableau version 7, which is now 12 years ago. That was actually when filled maps were introduced to Tableau. So before that, filled maps didn't even exist. So now you see that I hover over and I have the sales, the lighter the blue, the less the sales, and France have the most sales. It works excellent also when I drill down to states, when I hover over like this. What it doesn't do is when I go to cities, because cities by default is not a shape or a filled map. It actually works on zip codes, which is sometimes weird. Why does it do on zip codes but not on cities? But that's just how it's built in. Obviously, if you have this type of data that was mentioned in the previous session as well, you can get hold of a lot of other data. You can go to Mapbox and build your own data and have those maps in the background as well. But for data that's built into Tableau or the functionality, it works on country, state, but not on cities. So if I would like to now have this map, but also the sales per city as circles, the layers come into play. So I'm going to take away some of sales now for this, and we're going to change this to a map. So now I have a map for each individual country, and maybe I'm going to take in country again on color so that I have a unique color for each and every country. Obviously, this is really on the edge of how many colors you should have in any visualization, because there's so many that are very similar. It's not that easy to spot. But since the countries are separated and they are not at the same place, obviously, then this works okay. So if I now would like to look at the sales per city, I can drag in city, not into the same marks card or drill down, but I put it as a layer like this. And this is really fun because I live in Norway. I'll show you soon when I zoom into the map. But Tableau thinks that I'm in the States. So let's see this unknowns, edit location. It basically has said, well, Tableau is from the States. Why shouldn't everybody only look at data from the States? So now the country region over here is United States. It won't help me to change this to Norway because then it will only match the cities that are in Norway, and I have cities all over Europe. So I'm going to cancel this one out and just see that, for example, Oslo, the capital of Norway, also exists in the States. This is a fun exercise you can do with your own data. Just take your local cities, if you're not from the States, obviously, just put it in there and see, do my city or cities in my country also exist in the States? So I need to tell Tableau and help Tableau on the marks card here where it says city, combine this with a country as well. So I'll put this on detail, and suddenly all my dots ends up in Norway, Sweden, Finland, etc. There's a lot of dots in here, not very easy to spot them, right? So the order of the layers in Tableau also matters. So if I move the city below country, it's maybe not as easy to see. Now I can't even touch or find these dots here because now cities are behind the countries. So I'm more interested in the cities than the countries. So let's move it again. And I'm going to go to cities and change the color to black so we see all the dots. And I always like to, especially when you have this many, you could do the jittering somehow, somewhere, hack it around. But I'll always love to do some change with the opacity and add a border as well. So we see all the circles in there. Now I'm going to add in the sales on size, and that will only happen to the circles like this. Make them a bit bigger so you can see them as well. Still, when I move around over here, you see that the countries are highlighted and also the cities. The countries are there just for me as an information or as a layer. I'm not very interested in highlighting Norway per se or highlighting Sweden. So I can go to the marks card, go for the country and click these options and disable the selection, meaning that when I hover over, there's no Norway, no Finland, etc., but all the circles are there. And you see that when you move around or in this map, I can use the scroll wheel on my mouse to zoom in. And since I now have changed these to be a bit see-through, when I zoom out, you see that you can also see the different other circles, other cities around Paris, and not just Paris covering everything. So I use this quite a lot when I move around. You would think that if you haven't used these maps before, you just click and drag, and you would like to pan around. That doesn't help. You actually have to be a bit patient, and that I see in a lot of people. They're not very patient, so they double click, they do a lot of fun stuff in here. But if you pay attention to my marker over here now, and if I hold in my mouse key for more than a second, you see that I can pan around too. You see on the left hand side over here, since I've zoomed a bit, the pin has an X to it, so I can reset the map, go back out and see everything again. And next to this, you can decide, do I want to have the default rectangle? Do I want to pan? Do I want to zoom the area? So if I want to go to the UK, I can zoom in like this. Or do you want to go for the circle? So from Leeds, how many cities are within, I don't know how many miles or kilometers. This is also something probably documented somewhere, but where do we find that exact level? Do you see? If I zoom out, I don't get the radius. If I zoom in, I get the radius across Leeds or whatever. Then you can see how many are within certain kilometers or miles. You can edit this if you're from a country that doesn't use kilometers. Of course, you should talk to your local representative and politician and make everybody in the world use kilometers, because that's the best way of measuring things. So let's zoom out again. My favorite one to navigate is actually the one over here, the lasso, this one. So when I select the lasso selection, I can select all the cities in Norway, ignore those Swedes that nobody in Norway likes. I can take UK with me, and I can also maybe get Portugal and nothing else. So this lasso is really flexible when you're selecting something that is not just in a rectangle. Okay, so this was kind of depending on how experienced you are with maps, really kind of first step. Just get some introduction to this. I'm gonna get rid of those cities again and look at these countries. You see that I have country. It's called country region, but it basically is countries. But very often you have people who are responsible for the North region, like these countries, and you have somebody for Central Europe, etc. So one way of doing this is to select, obviously, the countries you're interested in. So let's do the Nordic countries. We include Finland when we're the Nordic countries. We exclude Finland when we are the Scandinavian countries. And then on the tooltip, if I zoom in there, you have this nice little binder, apparently a Norwegian invention back in the day. At least that's what I like to say. Don't Google it. And then I click on this group. You see that on the colors, I have now Denmark, Finland, Norway, and one more. They have one color, and the rest of these countries are grayed out. Let's do these ones. We can do the binder again, and we can do Central Europe like this. We can group these, and then the rest should obviously be the south or something like this. You see that I missed a couple of countries, but also you see on the left-hand side that I now have a new dimension that I didn't have before with a globe and a binder. Basically, we've done a geographic grouping. So I can go in here, right-click, edit, and then see that maybe I should adjust this a bit. You can do this manually, of course, but let's say now we're happy with this, or maybe Italy should be a bit more south. That should be in the other group, and we can rename these and call these the north, for example. And we can do that for every one in here. So now I'll add this, drag it down to my location hierarchy, and replace country region. So I can drill now from country region down to the countries, down to the states, and so on. So this is now not part of my underlying data source, but it's part of my data inside of my my view. So it's very easy to create these regions or pull together different type of countries or cities or states or whatever level you're on. A couple of other things while we're in these maps. You can always search for Bergen. That's where I live. So now we can zoom in and see this is Bergen somewhere. I'm just going to take the color away because it's really not very easy to see when we have all this region and everything over there. For some strange reason, it still keeps that color, but let's ignore that and let's zoom out a bit. So Bergen is on the west coast of Norway, fairly on the same altitude or whatever, not altitude, same place in the world as Oslo, Stockholm, and Helsinki. One thing you can do in here, you saw earlier how to get those, what is it called, those latitude and longitude. So if I now go back to Bergen again, so this is Bergen. I'll put in the cities in here as well on detail. So we get a little dot somewhere. Hopefully, at least, where did my dots go? Yeah, now it's still because of, sorry, just going to put in the country. That's there. So we have Bergen. So at what latitude, longitude is Bergen? I could go to Google Maps and do it, or I can right click. Anything you would like to do and you don't know how to do it, just right click in Tableau and that gives you so many options. I can annotate this particular point. I can call it, this is where the Jedi lives. And then I can insert latitude and I can insert longitude from here. And then you can see the latitude, longitude for Bergen. You could do that obviously for all points, but that would be quite a messy map you would have there in the end. Okay, I have some more tips as well. Please just give me a sign when I have roughly 5 minutes to go so that I don't go over time, because Klaus and Jim, when I start talking, there's no stopping me.
We have some time left.
Perfect. So I'm going to go back to this one, and this is because something very often, since I live in Norway, obviously, I work also a bit abroad, but I have a lot of customers and clients that work in Norway, and we don't then have data in all these other countries, which is also fine. Let's just add a filter. So I'm now just going to look at just Norway. But still, those damn Swedes are there. We have Finland, we have Estonia, and we have everything else in there. Okay, they are there. But if I'm doing any reporting on data in Norway, first of all, I know that this is Norway, so it doesn't have to say Norway over here. So if you go to the map menu over here on the top, there's something called map. If you don't right click, you find it on these menus. You can then go to to background layers and then decide that maybe I don't need to have the country names. I don't need to spell Norway over Norway because I know Norway is there. But the other thing is that why do I have to have Sweden and Finland and everything else there when I only have that in Norway? Well, you can do a washout. So go from 0 to 100%. And as long as you have a filled map, you will still see the map, even though there's no map in the background. And we can do the trick that we did earlier, drag in cities on a new layer, make sure that we bring in country, otherwise I'm in the States again. And then I have my cities with my sales or whatever happens there, and I have my background map all along for itself. So just use maps, background layer, and wash out the map. Another thing we can do, if you would love to look at not only Norway, but also the other countries again, I'm going to get rid of the cities. So we have multiple countries in here, and we have the sales on color. So we have individual colors. If I now would like to look at each country individually, I could, of course, just filter this on Norway, duplicate the sheet, filter this on Sweden, duplicate the sheet, put everything into a dashboard. Or we can get rid of latitude and longitude, increase the size, and I have all my countries individually in here as a shape, where I also have colored based on the sales. if you now would add in the label is in the middle, which is a bit frustrating sometimes. You can go to alignment, nothing happens. The only thing that works is if you change the direction, but that really don't help anything. So the trick here is to go to the text. Every time you see a triangle or 3 buttons or anything in Tableau, there will be an option of changing something. So if I go to my label, I just add in some spaces like this, say apply, maybe a couple more, and then I have the label below instead of on the map itself. Especially if you are from the States, most likely you wouldn't know that this is Netherlands, this is Austria, this is Belgium, just based on the shape. In Europe, of course, we know everything, so we would know this, of course. Let's see, I do have more stuff. I have some more data that I would like to add in, and this is a new tip as well. Basically, if I move over to my folder where I have some data, I have some Oslo city bike data. If I just drag any data source into Tableau, the window itself, Tableau automatically connects to, in this case, there's only one CSV file, so that will connect automatically. And then I'll go to my new sheet, and you see that I have some information about different city bike stations. Tableau hasn't recognized the latitude longitude one, it just says numbers. So I could add these with some averages and then like this, and then look at the start station name. Problem is I have to zoom in to see on the X and Y that they are actually spread out somewhere in Oslo. So I just need to make sure, like I did with the country earlier, change the hashtag, the number decimal, to a latitude, and the other one to a longitude, like this. And suddenly we are in Oslo, and I have all the different bike stations. I also do have, since that was mentioned earlier, I do have the districts of Oslo in a shape file, just drag and drop because I'm lazy or quick, that depends. You see that this Oslo bydeler or districts has this geometry. So if I double click on this, you see that this is split into multiple districts in Oslo. I'm going to put the color in so you see the different ones like this. And now I can combine this with my city bikes. So I can't just put these on columns and rows over here, because then Tableau would like to blend and add these data together. And this is the beauty of the map layers in Tableau. You can have multiple map layers that don't have to be connected with any dimension or measure or anything. So if I put the latitude into a marks layer, put the longitude inside of the same, and of course station names maybe on label, you see that I have all my stations around Oslo like this. Maybe put in some color as well. So the last thing I would like to do now in this map is that, if you lose half of your screen, like you sometimes do when you do this zooming thing, that's really, really empty, really annoying. I agree, Klaus. The next thing I would like to do, I would like to add some calculations in here. So this, I would like to see how many people traveled from the Norwegian Folk Museum to whatever other stations. Also, the length of the trip and everything like this, because we do have the start station, latitude, longitude. We have the end station, latitude, longitude. So first I need to make a point in the sense that Tableau is calling it, we have this spatial functions over here. As you can see, we have multiple. So I'm going to make a point. So this is the start point, latitude, longitude. I'm going to make a new point, which is the end station from which this bike ride is going. And then I can add in, for example, the distance. How far is it to go from this to this one? So I have cheated a bit because of time. So the start station, I'm just going to drag it in here. We have the make point from the start station latitude to the start station longitude. Just call this start. If I manage to spell, that's also something that we learn at school. I'm going to create a new one, which will be the end. Not the end of all time, but at least the end of that bike ride that you will take. Say OK. So now I have two new geometry fields in here. Put in the start. I'll put in the end. Basically, they are now on top of the existing station, so we couldn't get rid of them if we want to. But maybe I would like to create a line from the start to the end. So the one would be the path, where we now not use the make point anymore, but the make line. So the make line will go from my start station to the end station. Let's see what happens. Oh, there was a question mark in there. Yeah, because you know how it is when you are preparing something, you take some more time, you do it properly, and you call it start station instead of just start, because now I was a bit lazy. So I'm just going to call this end like this. Calculation works. That's always a beautiful sign. And now let's add the path in here as well. Now it really looks nice, Klaus. What do you say about this? Looks like a spider's web. So obviously now we should add it. Sorry?
I love
You
it.
love it. Yeah. So let's add in a filter, a single value list, so that you can only select one station at a time. And you see that it's changing from one place, and see how many station it actually moves over to. Now we should have the end station name in there as well, so that we see that this one goes to this city place, this one goes to this, etc., etc. But you see one other thing that's a bit annoying. I'm just going to zoom out a bit so that it actually zooms into what's happening. You see that it doesn't move the map at all now, even though I go from the different places in Oslo. And that is because my geometry, the bydel or the district, if I now say that this should not be added to the zoom extent, meaning that now if I go to this hotel where they recorded a really nice TV series back in the day, go to this biggest cinema in Oslo, etc., we see that it zooms around and you see all these different information. Final thing we should have is the distance. And then I'm going to drag in this one as well. So basically the distance calculation is from the start station. Oh, sorry. Start. There we go. No, it's doing something weird now. It had to fail eventually, right? Start. Let's see what happens if it actually understands this, and end like this. It might work. So I'll put this one then on the, where was the path? That was over there. Put this, oh, sorry. Did I do it on the wrong, I did do it on the wrong, that's why I did it on the wrong data source. So quickly fix this. And maybe it's even faster to write it sometimes. Distance, start, end. And units, of course, kilometers, or let's do meters. I know that people from the UK and the US don't have any idea what a meter is, but it's roughly 100 centimeters. I know you don't know what that is, but it's a foot, a leg, and an inch or something. I'm not entirely sure. So I'll put this on the tooltip as well. And then I'll put in my beautiful name of the calculation. It's just called distance, like this. Yeah, let's not spend too much time on spelling it too nicely. So from this Edvard Stormsgate to Georg Morgenstern's house, there is 2,338 meters. And now you can add on, if you have more data, like the number of bike rides, you can add that. You can add that to the size. So the thicker the line, the more people have traveled that particular time as well. And one thing we can add in here as well, because I do have data on, just going to get rid of this data guide that Klaus mentioned earlier as well. I do have data over here that when did this happen? So this started at a particular time. It's called ABC. So I'm just going to do date time. put that on Pages if you haven't used Pages yet, or maybe, no, it doesn't work. It did work yesterday, so nobody cares. So this is, you know how it is. I'll redo my entire workbook and put it to my Tableau public profile eventually, so people can have a look at this and also get the data. So how much time do I have left?
You still have a little time, but Tori, would you do me a favor? You had you were looking at your file manager where you pulled the shape file.
Yeah.
Could you pull that up on the screen again? Now you'll notice if everybody looks here, Tori pulled the shape file, but there are 3 other files in that folder, and you have to have those in that folder to create the map. I mean, I get questions every so often where somebody says, "Oh, I put the shape file and it didn't do anything." Well, that's because they just grabbed the shape file itself and put it in a folder all by itself, and it didn't do anything. That shape file will call those other files to actually make the map. Thank you, Tori.
I was doing something like this earlier today just to practice a bit, and then I dragged in the shape file only.
Yeah.
And then you get, oh, that doesn't work. What happened? I have the shape file, but exactly, that's your correct point.
And sometimes it's a lot more than 3 files. You can have like
10,
15 files out there. You just keep them in the same folder and you're okay. Didn't mean to interrupt. If you've got like about 5 more minutes, you're good. Or if you want to take a question or 2, we can do that also.
Let me do just one more thing, and then I'll do. Then we do questions in the end, because we did look at those beautiful maps with the density, but I thought that the data was a bit. Wasn't that much data. So I like this rat sightings. Rattus norvegicus, it's actually called in Latin. I don't know, not sure if us Norwegians should be proud of that. But this rat sightings data set has, let's see how many data points. It has 114,000 rats sighted. So I just wanted to show how beautiful that is over in New York, these rat sightings, because now we're looking at all the rat sightings in one exact dot at one time, because it's not limited by a specific street address or anything, or there is some street addresses, but the easiest thing to look at all your 114,000 data points at the same time, which you can't do with another tool that we shouldn't mention the name of in this group, obviously, because nobody likes it. But I can go to analysis and switch off aggregate measures. And you see that now I have 113,000 marks or rat sightings in New York. Holy. But then I changed to density, and we see where did we have most rats. I think that blue is a nice color in Tableau. So I would do the more of a red, yellow, horrendous. This is really not very nice. And a fun thing, fact almost in here, if you zoom in a bit, you see that apparently there's no rats in Central Park. I'm not sure why, or they don't say that they found them in there. I have no idea. Another thing we can do in here that didn't work on the Oslo map, and that's to put in the when was this happening. So we have the created date. I can drag this one on Pages. And Pages, that's where we can do animation over time. So this is data from multiple years, from 2010 and forwards. And then I'm just going to quickly go to format my animation, make it a bit slower, so that you have to run from the rats. Now we're looking at 2010, and if I press play on tape, we can do this on full screen as well. Then you can see how the rat sightings have changed over time since 2010 till I think 2017 or something. So hopefully by the end of this session, which is done now, the only thing you will think of is the fun fact you can use in any social meetup later on. The brown rat is called Rattus norvegicus in Latin. Thank you. There's a lot of questions, I think, but would somebody read them up for me, and I can see if I can answer.
Mandy, do you have a question there that Tori might want?
So there was one, there are a couple of questions, but yeah, there were a few on the LinkedIn, so I just copied over here. So it's like one question is, can I overlay GIS topographical mapping info onto the map?
So GIS, you can connect to the multiple type of like this spatial data. And if you look at spatial data like this, you see that Tableau supports quite a lot of different type of spatial data. There's no GIS .gis or anything called that, but that's something that you also can do if you go to the map over here. You do have background maps that are built into Tableau light, normal, dark, etc. But you can add WMS maps or Mapbox maps. So you can either create a user at Mapbox and create your own maps, or you can use WMS maps that you can find. There's a lot of those available online that are free. A lot of services that are free for that. But for me, I also have a lot of customers who work with data that are outside of the basis of the land mass. So basically, it's somewhere in the sea, and they have their own WMS maps as well. So you can
Great.
combine these together. Now
Okay,
you see
thank
that this one wasn't really nice.
Great. And
you.
the
Thank you,
moment
Tori.
you said sea, so there was a question related to that, probably one last question, that did you ever map oceans instead of countries? And how did you do that?
Yeah, then what my customer does, they have their own WMS servers. They have then currents, or they have depths, or regions, or blocks, or whatever they call it. So in Norway, as you might know, we're not only, as you see that this is really going slow now, so probably I have broken Tableau here. In Norway, we have a lot of oil and gas, so we have a lot of customers who uses Tableau, but also don't care about what's on land, so they have their own type of data for the sea.
Nice. Thank
Excellent presentation, Tori.
you. Wonderful. Yeah.
You blew up the blew up the chat. Go ahead,
Thank you.
Klaus.
Okay, Tori, could you stop sharing your screen?
Yes.
Thank you.
So maybe adding to all the fun that Tori just shared, I quickly found my favorite meme on a map topic, and that is what Jim just asked about the shapefile and the SAP. So you need them all and not just the .sap.
There you go. I love
Okay, thank you. Great presentation as always. Sign up for the Tiny Tableau tips, sign up for the data and maps tag, and even try the Norway tag. It's always fun to hang out with Tore. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think we got a Kahoot quiz coming up here, so let's let Laura get that loaded. And I would remind you once again, this is for bragging rights, which at least in my household are much more important than swag or cash. Well, not cash, but certainly more important than swag. So no prizes, but we're going to have a good time. And Laura, when you're ready, just take off and we'll go. Tori, you were great. Outstanding job.
Hi everyone. I'm not sure if you're gonna be happy with the Kahoots because I was just confused the whole time. Like, since I do not use maps at all in my work or any other places, this is one of the first places I saw this many map tips. So I was like you. I'm like, what do I put on the Kahoots? So I was just very confused. But hopefully, the questions make sense. And we'll be. Thank you. Yeah, we'll be learning together. So let me just. Share the link and I'll share my screen really quick. It's basically just loading, so I don't want to start it before it loads. Give me a minute. Thank you. Okay. Let me share my screen. I'll try to make the volume down so it's really high.
Another fun fact before we start: Kahoot is a Norwegian app invention, by the way.
Oh, nice. Nice.
As I said, the
I
tip
didn't.
keeps coming in.
Do you get royalties on that, Tori? When you mentioned that, you get royalties from?
Not
You
anymore, but I sold my shares when they were acquired by a big US company.
Laura, we can still hear the music, so I'm not
Oh,
sure
okay.
if it's too loud at your end, but then we can just.
We don't have. How's that now?
Yeah, that's good.
That's good. Okay, yeah, because I think I had it pretty high.
Hey, I was digging the music.
Getting bothered by the music, let me know.
Oh no, it was like it probably would be louder on Laura's end, so just wanted to make sure that.
Okay, no, thank you. It's good. Yeah. Okay, let's see. We have 40 people. I'll just wait for a little bit more people. I know we have some time, but. No, that was a lot of information. Since I don't use map, I'm just like, what do I put on this? So my questions might be completely wrong, but I tried my best. So hopefully we all learn together and that'll be fun. So I'll just wait for at least 50 people to start. So if one more person can join. I know we have quite a lot of people in the group, but okay, 49, that's good. I don't think I want to wait for 50 because, okay, somebody dropped. That's okay. Yeah, I don't know why that cut off. It's supposed to be Tableau Newbies user group. So let's see. Do you guys still hear the music or no?
No music. We're good.
Okay, if that's okay. So yeah, this is part of Maddie's question. So what do you actually need to make data points if you're not familiar with maps at all? I know we have some really good map people in the chat. Some people answered questions in the Q&A. Thank you for doing that. I did not know what to do with it. Yeah, basically you need, like, I just answered this question multiple different ways. So you need all of this. You need the set of coordinates, you need the latitude and longitude. They're all the same answer. I just said it in a different way. So sorry if that was confusing, but I'm sorry. Maddie, I think that's you. Where you? Oh, okay. Awesome, Tracy. Let me just. I don't know if there's the music out loud, but I don't hear it for me. So yeah, Maddie did this in her. So yeah, I know she used something, but I'm not using that. This is one of the top main things that she had, and this is something that Tor also used in his. He also used that. So if you're. So yeah, it's not a Google Maps extension. I just wanted to make sure. I'm sure there's something like that, but sorry if that was confusing. But she was on Google Sheets, and she just used a extension by Awesome Table. But yeah, it was the main thing that she mentioned was the make point function. So I think I confused people with the extension. So sorry about that. And this is something that Ray's mentioned in his talks. So what do we think? Like, does Tableau work well with them or no? This is very basic questions, but these are things that I was just able to glance at it quick because I had to make it on the go and there was a lot of information being thrown at me. So do you want the music on, Pam, or no? I can turn it on. Yes, so Tableau does work well with hierarchical map structure. So basically what that means is you can have, country and then have state, you can have cities, you can go down into zip codes and things like that. Okay, perfect. Let me go into the next one.
So is yes for music, so you can play it, Laura.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't wanna like make this boring sounding. So awesome. Ooh, we have somebody climbing up. Okay, awesome.
Oh,
Go to the
nice.
next question. So yeah, how do you, so this one, I didn't know you could do this because I don't make maps. But I'm inspired this time. So how do you, what I'm asking is how do you access this little thing on the side? Because I know people did it multiple times during our session. So how do you access this?
Well, definitely none of them Googled it. So
Yeah, thank you. I'm very glad. Yeah. It's, you do not use the LOD, but yeah, it's under the maps tab and it literally just says background layer. So that's how we access that. Awesome. Hello. I don't know who that is, but good job. This was a question that I thought was really interesting because once again, I'm not too familiar with maps. So this is very interesting to see. So I say in almost unlimited because I don't know what the truth is. So I'm hoping, yes, you can create, that's what Tableau is saying, but you can almost create an unlimited layers in maps. And that's really interesting to me. So let me see.
hello is still on top.
Yeah, no, they're doing really good. Yeah, so I'm not sure if you guys remember, he actually had to make this path data in the presentation like a few minutes ago. And I'm not sure, I don't know if you guys remember how he got this information, this path data. So yeah, unfortunately he did not. I mean, I'm pretty sure he might have gotten it from the transportation department, but he did use MakePoint to create new data between the start and the endpoints to see how much the path was.
Awesome. I thought you would keep the not sure option also as the correct one.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I used to have more funny things, but this one, I'm just like watching this and I'm like, oh, I kept forgetting to actually, I just reused this picture, but basically this is something that Tor mentioned and I thought this was really interesting, but do they have to be connected to each other? Yes or no? I hope I did this right, but I don't think. So yeah, they don't have to be connected to each other because in one of the questions that Tor had, Tori, I hope I'm saying your name right. But yeah, he basically took the zip code and things that were not connected to each other and made layers on top of things to make our lives easier, gave us more tips. But yeah, that's what he did. And they don't have to be connected to each other. Awesome. Good job. Hello. I feel like hello is Tor. I'm not sure, but oh yeah, so it's from the rat data. That's what I'm calling it. I'm not even gonna call rat tidings. It's just rat data to me. So how did he get this data display? Because I don't know if you guys remember when he first pulled in the data, it was just a dot. So he did something to make this happen. So I know some people put, it was not, I don't think it was map layers at least at the time, but yeah, he basically when he first pulled in the data, it was a dot on New York because there's too many rats, frankly. But yeah, he went on to the aggregate tab up there and clicked off, he went to the analysis tab and then clicked off aggregate option. And that basically brought us the information that you see over here. But yeah, I think this is all I have for now. I know I could have done more stuff, but like you guys, I was just staring at the screen. I'm like, what is going on? And it was so fascinating. So thank you so much, everybody.
Awesome, Laura. This was wonderful.
Yeah, great stuff, Laura.
Thank you, Laura. If you stop sharing your screen now, we can go back to, unless you want to pull up that last slide. We'll remind everybody when we're meeting next month. There we go. Okay. Now, next month, put it on your calendar right now, or you can sign up for it right now. We're going to have Steve Wexler speaking on charts he created from the movies. And Steve is a great speaker. We'd love for you to be there. But also Viraj is going to present next time. So we're looking forward to having you all there. Thank you for being with us today. Bye now.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Tore.
If
Tuck, tuck.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a nice day.
if you want to stay for just a second, we'll have a little